is a podcast or something like that. Hey, what's up? How's it going? So good to see you. Welcome to episode 149 of the Verbal Journal podcast. Don't worry, you haven't missed anything. If this is your first time watching and you're like, that sounds crazy, episode 149, don't worry. They're all self-contained. They're all, important and significant episodes. Today is a public episode, so that's why I kind of say that, because I know, a couple more people watching than normal, not just the patrons and the members, though I do appreciate, of course, the patrons and the members. Thank you for giving me money for this weird thing I like to do called making stuff. We got a good episode today. Lots of fun things on the agenda, some interesting things and some fun things. I'll be going through, we have all these different segments. I know people on the main channel, you all from the public, you love segments. I've already kind of looked into that. So I'll just tell you what you got in store here. This is the intro. I never really name it, but this is the intro. Then we'll have the horizontal integration segment where I talk about the main channel briefly. Fly through the Goodish news of the day. We'll have a comedy about headline segment. That's exciting. The delayed grieving segment. That should be interesting. That's a new one. Research segment, meditation segment, image segment, and audiovisual segment. And then we'll of course have follow-ups, mailbag, improv segment. If you, I'll just mention the mailbag. You can write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com and participate. You know what I mean? And then I'll thank the patrons and the members, but this is not about them today. You know what I mean? They're great. Don't get me wrong. They're great. They're good looking. They have good judgment. They're very discerning, but it's not about them today. It's about the public. So great. So welcome to the VJP. Another thing intro-wise, we had some tech issues. We had some lag. We've been dealing with some tech stuff. It's been a lot, you know what I mean? But we actually did finally get a tech guy here in the studio, and finally I got my producer to get the tech guy, because I don't have that ability. I don't have I don't get to make that call. I get to make a lot of different calls, but yeah, the tech guy, messed around with some things. The encoder settings, switch that around. Oh, I guess I could go to performance mode. He was explaining to me, go to performance mode in Streamlabs. And I was like, I don't believe you. You know what I mean? I don't believe you. I don't trust you. But I just did it. So I'm in performance mode right now. So let me know if I'm kind of performing better. All right, let's calm down. So great. So that's pretty much it for the intro. Let's get right on into it. Am I supposed to stay in performance mode while I'm switching segments? Is that going to work? All right, I'll try it. No, there's no way this is going to work. Okay, go to this segment. And now, okay, I have to check. Wow, okay, it worked. So this is just the last episode. I like to show people what the last episode was, I guess. I don't know. It's just, lots of good. Oh, yeah, the Twitter promotion segment did not go well. You can see the clip on the VJP Clips channel, the podcast Clips channel. We lost our contract. They gave us 3 tries, and apparently they didn't like how we were promoting them. So it sucks, because I know they're struggling, and I was happy to help out and be paid for it, but apparently we didn't do a good job. Okay, so anyways, let's get on into the horizontal integration segment. This is where I talk about the main channel, What's Therapy. We obviously have a collaboration here, VJP and What's Therapy. We're kind of cohabitating. We get along. We coexist. We don't necessarily like each other. You know what I mean? But I like myself, but it just gets complicated. So I don't have a lot to talk about today regarding the main channel, but I hope you've been enjoying my videos. You know what I mean? You liking the videos, please? But I will say one thing about the main channel, which is every time I go to the community tab and I'm posting a post, because I like to check in with you all. I like to say, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Are you okay? I like to check in with people, but I see this thing every time I go there. Let me show you what I see. I just wanted to mention this. This is what it looks like. I go to the community tab. I get back into performance mode. All right, I'm feeling like I'm not performing. So, so this is what I see when I go to my community tab, okay? And I'm just wondering, like, why... So it looks normal so far, right? But then it's like, I scroll down and it says, turn on my community. And I'm like, yikes. I just want to mention that. Like, what are they talking about? Why do they want me to turn on my YouTube community? I would, like, I don't, I appreciate you all, and I really appreciate you all, watching my stuff. I definitely, like, I don't know you, but I like you as a concept. You know what I mean? I like the concept of people. And you all leave nice comments. So I'm sure you're all very nice, but I don't want you to take this personally, but I'm not necessarily trying to turn you on. So I just, every time I look at my community page, I'm like, why do they want me to do that? Not that I couldn't, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, I don't know why I should. Like, what, is that the right thing to do? It seems kind of parasocial. I think you can all turn yourselves on. I don't know that you need this guy on YouTube to, like, turn you on. So, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I see what they're saying. They're saying, they're saying I could turn on my community, like I could change it up. I could completely switch it up on you and actually become like your enemy or something. It's not the other thing that I was thinking. It's actually, they're saying, oh, you could turn on your community, like you could become their worst enemy. You could go from being their favorite YouTuber to their worst enemy. You could turn on them. I see. Okay, my mistake. I'm sorry. My mind is in the gutter, apparently. So, but I'm not going to do that either. I'm not going to do that. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all way too much. I will never turn on you. So yeah, just wanted to kind of establish those boundaries, I guess. And that feels good to kind of get that known. And, so now we move right into the one and only Goodish news segment. So a lot of podcasts talk about the news. This is not a news podcast. So you'll see by the fact that we breeze through this stuff. But I do like to mention what's going on in the world, not because it's news, but because it's just real stuff that happens. But I only, I know you all follow the news. You're all very well informed. You all are like, I'm reading the news, like, every single week. You know what I mean? That's what you're often doing, I think. You're probably checking the news once or twice a week even. But I just wanted to check in with you here because I highlight the Goodish news. So these are only things that are good, sometimes heavy on the ish, but often there's a real good side to it. So great. So let's get into the Goodish news segment. Okay, first article is not showing up. That's not a good start. It might have been a really good one too. Oh God. Reuters now makes you verify where you like have to scroll to the right on everything. Wow. That's going to be really, are they going to make me do that on every single page? Why do they do that? Okay, maybe I did it on one tab, so I don't have to do it on every tab. Nope, I'm going to have to do it on every tab. Okay, let's pause while I do that. I just checked, and we're having, like, more tech issues than ever. Okay, I don't know. Maybe the tech guy was, like, a fake tech guy or something? I don't know. Seems to be, like... maybe we're being sabotaged. But I'm just going to carry on. Also, a few of these tabs did not work, but, whatever, right? I mean, live and let live. Let's get into the Goodish news segment. Let me just tell you about some Goodish news, all right? Everyone relax. No one cares about tech issues. Okay. Performance mode. Let's go. Judge tells U.S. National Park Service to reinstall Philadelphia slavery exhibit. So, personally, I am a fan of actually, learning history. So, this is good news to me. Goodish, because... Why would the current administration take down a slavery exhibit? Okay, we try not to get too into it. It's the headlines. Okay. New Mexico approves comprehensive probe of late indicted human trafficker Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch. Hyatt executive chairman Pritzker steps down, cites terrible judgment in Epstein ties. Yeah. Ireland opens probe into double salute master and world's most hoarding wealth individual Elon Musk's Grok AI over sexualized images that this thing is producing. Scotiabank unit sells stake in Israeli arms supplier Elbit after backlash. This is a company that has been participating in the genocide that the Zionist ethno state of Israel has been inflicting on the Palestinian people since at least October 8th. Oh my God! I thought I just closed the whole window with all the tabs. I think you all might have seen me freak out. Spain to probe X Meta TikTok. What is X? Meta TikTok over AI generated child sexual abuse material. Good. They should look into that. Republican President Donald Trump is recruiting thousands of local officers to aid immigration efforts. Some states are saying no. Federal judge rules Kilmar Abrego Garcia cannot be redetained by immigration authorities. This is one of the people that the current autocracy had to actually admit, we literally made a mistake. We weren't just racist and dehumanizing. We actually made a literal mistake. So they had to admit that they made a mistake in sending this man who has a family and a community in the United States to El Salvador, to a torture prison. And they've tried to, accuse him of all this other stuff, which is what they do. It's really, really, really weird. But luckily a judge said, guys, get a hobby. And similarly, judge blocks deportation of Palestinian activists. So it's similar, not the same. This is part of the administration's hatred of free speech. So it's a little bit different than Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who wasn't even saying anything political. He was just living his life. But judge blocks deportation of Palestinian activists who led protests at Colombia. This is Mosem Madawi. You could put his name in the headline, AP News. Deportation of Irish man in ICE custody temporarily halted. That's good-ish news, right? Republican President Donald Trump's immigration approval hits new low, according to Reuters poll. That's good. People are starting to feel like, hey, maybe we shouldn't treat people terribly just because they're not citizens. Bayer agrees, and also, obviously, the immigration enforcement agents have shot and killed multiple U.S. citizens, and they seem to be way more violent. Bayer agrees to $7.25 billion proposed settlement over thousands of Roundup cancer lawsuits. Detroit police chief plans to terminate 2 officers who contacted Border Patrol amid traffic stops. Good. That's against the law, as far as I understand. Judge rejects Live Nation bid to dismiss U.S. lawsuit claiming it monopolized live concerts. Another Canadian conservative lawmaker defects to Carney's governing Liberals. Look, I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Carney head. But this is good when you see right-leaning people deciding that they can't be right-leaning anymore, that it looks bad. That's good. UN Security Council members blast Israel's West Bank plans on eve of Republican President Donald Trump's farcical Board of Peace meeting. Yeah, that they're trying to do to substitute the UN. It's like, just do the UN. We don't need like an oligarch version of the UN. The UN already has enough issues. Like, try to just use the UN instead of something that's even less democratic. King Charles's brother Andrew, classic, released after arrest over misconduct relating to Epstein. Fantastic. First time in 4 centuries a British royal has been arrested, is my understanding. Let's go. Let's go. If a prince can be arrested, a president can be arrested, anyone can be arrested. Which is good. I like accountability. And speaking of which, South Korea court sentences ex-President Yoon to life in prison for insurrection. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal to do an insurrection. You know what I mean? It's kind of a big deal. It's kind of like one of the central things that differentiates a democracy from not a democracy, is like the quantity of insurrections. U.S. judge throws out immigration board's ruling endorsing Republican President Donald Trump's mass detention policy and Republicans' mass detention policy. Catholic leaders bring communion to immigration detainees near Chicago after court win. Good, they deserve it. Supreme Court strikes down most of Republican President Donald Trump's tariffs in a major blow to the president. Whoopsies. U.S. judge upholds $243 million verdict against Tesla over fatal autopilot crash. Russian family who complained of mistreatment in ICE facility is released after 4 months. By the way, they've been seeking asylum. They've been seeking asylum. But they needed to be apparently imprisoned. We needed to take these 5 family members' freedoms away. And lastly, on the Goodish news segment, federal judge accuses Republican President Donald Trump's administration of terror against immigrants in scathing ruling. You got to read this. The judge said the threats posed by the executive branch cannot be viewed in isolation. The administration has violated the December ruling that found it was illegally denying many detained immigrants a chance for release, and the judge ordered U.S. Department of Homeland Security to provide migrants with notice that they may be eligible for bond, and then give them access to a phone call and attorney to call an attorney within an hour. Just one more thing about this. Under past administrations, people with no criminal record could generally request a bond hearing before an immigration judge while their cases wound through immigration court unless they were stopped at the border. This current administration reversed that practice. They don't want people to have bond hearings. You know what that means to not have a bond hearing? That means being locked up for no reason. That means not even having the ability to challenge your freedoms being taken away. Immigrants by the thousands had to file separate petitions in court seeking their release. More than 20,000 habeas corpus cases have been filed since Republican President Donald Trump's inauguration. Judges granted many of those petitions, but later found the administration was violating their orders, the judge's orders, to release people or provide them with other relief. Federal judge in New Jersey this week ordered the administration to explain what procedures are in place to ensure court orders in his district are followed consistently and on time. You know how serious stuff is when that's what you're giving? Well, like, tell me when you're saying, tell me exactly what you're gonna do so this doesn't happen again. That's like what you say before, you hold someone in contempt, which people were holding contempt in the administration recently this past week. U.S. District Judge said Tuesday that Republican President Donald Trump officials failed to meet court-ordered deadlines for bond hearing in immigration court in 12 of roughly 550 cases. Oh, that's not that many, right? They can violate the law 12 times. That's no big deal. It's just 12 cases of people's rights being violated. Well, the judge says judicial orders should never be violated, apparently. So who knew? So bond hearings, kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal to be able to get a bond hearing. If you care about rights and freedom. Not everyone does, but some people care about rights and freedom, so they think, hey, bond hearing's probably a good thing. All right, so that's the Goodish news segment. That's kind of how it goes, essentially. I just fly through the Goodish news segment. It doesn't always feel that good, you know what I mean? What's up with that? Why does the Goodish news segment? Because it's news, I guess. And it's ish. It's ish. So next up, we have the comedy about headlines segment. And this is one we've done before, but not in a couple weeks. And it's important, especially after the Goodish news segment, to kind of bring some levity into the picture, to bring some comedy into the picture. A lot of people say I don't make any jokes on this podcast. And it's just an incredibly informative, enlightening experience. And I hear you. I understand that criticism. And I will, I'll make sure to be funny right now. So let's give it a shot. So comedy about headline segment. I'm going to pull up a headline and then I'm going to make a zinger. You know what I mean? So let's get it. What do we got today? Comedy about headline segment. Okay, let's see. Grandson of the inventor of Reese's peanut butter cups accuses Hershey of cutting corners. Okay, yes. The gears are turning already. Yes. Okay, ready? Joke. Comedy. Okay. Grandson of the inventor of Reese's peanut butter cups accuses Hershey of cutting corners. Well, too bad it doesn't have any corners. No, hold on. Grandson of the inventor of Reese's peanut butter cups accuses Hershey of cutting corners, saying, or adding. I feel like adding is better probably. Okay. Grandson of the inventor of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups accuses Hershey of cutting corners, adding, where'd the corners go? I can do better than that. Grandson of the inventor of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups accuses Hershey of cutting corners, adding, I didn't even know there were corners to cut. That's pretty good. I think that's probably the best one. Can we just use the last one? We have to include them all. Okay. So stick around for more comedy, stuff like that. I just like to make you laugh. Sorry. Sue me. Okay, and now on to something more serious. So this is a new segment. We've done the grief segment. I talk about people when they pass away that I respect sometimes. I talked about D'Angelo when he passed away, and I've talked about other people. But this is a little bit different because this is the delayed grief segment. The delayed grief segment, meaning I'm going to talk about someone who passed away, but it's been a little while. So I just thought that's, because there's no timeline for grieving. You can grieve on any timeline. And that's true. So I'm going to talk about Scott Adams, recently deceased, comic creator turned Republican doormat, or right-wing ideologue, virulent racist, extremely isolated, alienated, racist old man. But I wanted to just say, I guess, because I read Dilbert when I was a kid. You know what I mean? I think you could tell that about me. You know what I mean? That I read Dilbert when I was a kid. It is really kind of sad. You could tell that the guy making the comic probably was sort of unhappy and misanthropic and not really understanding people. But he also understood people in some ways. He just maybe was in his own cubicle mentally. But I'm just going to say one good thing that I took away from Dilbert. Genuinely. There's this line in Dilbert. I'll never forget it because it stuck with me so much. The boss is like a doofus, right? You see him right there with the two pointy hairs. The boss is a doofus. And Dilbert's just this total Sigma. I mean, really, Dilbert was supposed to be. I mean, I guess you see him not doing well a lot of the time. But generally, he's the one that's what the heck is going on here? Everyone's so stupid. Which, is very appealing when I was 12. I was I agree. I was 12 and I was I hate working to support myself. But there's this one point where the stupid boss is arguing with the Dilbert guy and so on. And I forget exactly how it comes up. I think the boss says explicitly, sometimes it's my strategy when I'm in an argument that I say something so irrational that the other person loses their will to argue. I'm not saying it word for word, but I'm pretty close. It's losing the will to argue because someone says something irrational. And I always think about that because I do think there's a lot of truth to that. Not that it's intentional, but people maybe subconsciously, if someone doesn't want to face the truth about something, it's kind of hard to just say lies. Often it's easier to say something really off base and irrational that's either neither true nor false, or just very not falsifiable. Or very irrelevant. You see this a lot in arguments. But though it's not a conscious decision, I do feel that sometimes people delve into this realm of irrationality with this subtle goal that it allows the other person to feel disempowered. How do I argue with someone who's saying something completely irrational? So that was one interesting thing I took away from Dilbert comics, where I was that's a good point. People do unintentionally, unconsciously say really irrational things when they're in arguments to kind of drain you of your will to argue. Now, unfortunately, Scott Adams did grow up. I mean, he just came out with this crazy racist stuff. I'm not exaggerating. You can look it up. It was he was just straight up I don't want to live around people who are not white. I mean, it was, and it's basically the same thing that all racist people or racist acting people believe, but he just said it more kind of outright. And then his comic got, taken out of all these newspapers because they were like, we don't need you, dude. Like, we don't need you. Anyways, rest in peace. It was really odd. He like converted to Christianity. He was a lifelong atheist and converted to Christianity like in his like final moments. And like very explicitly was like, I'm like, this is Pascal's wager. Like at this point, it seems like it's probably more likely to help than to hurt. I might as well give it a shot. And like, look, you know, that this happens. People convert on their deathbeds. Like, there's no shame in that. And I'm a supporter of religion. You can be faithful. I think there's a lot of really great ways to be faithful. It was just very funny that he was still he wasn't like, oh, I've seen the light. Like, I don't think that was what he was like. I think he was like literally like, oh, it makes logical sense now, because what's the point of not believing? I'm about to die, and it could help me. There's like a 1% chance it helps me to believe. But that's not how believing works, right? You can't just like pretend to believe. Like, God's going to be like, oh, I think they believe. They said they believe. You can't just pretend to believe. So I don't know. Yeah, I that's funny to me. And then also I think he like plugged his like podcast in his like final post, which is wild and sad and genuinely very sad on like a zoomed out level. If you think about it, like really, it is actually quite sad that a guy who is just sort of like a milquetoast comic guy who did bring joy to a lot of people. I read tons of Dilbert comics when I was a kid, and some of them were funny. It's sad. I mean, it really speaks to the alienation of our society, I think. I mean, I don't think... And, like, it's also one of the downsides of becoming extremely wealthy. Like, he was able to alienate himself from society. He didn't rely on other people, and he felt like he could be divorced from other people. But... You know, I learned that one thing about people being irrational to drain the other person of their will to argue. So what can I say? That was, thank you, Scott Adams, and sorry about dying. So hopefully there's no cubicles in heaven. Or does he like cubicles? I don't really remember if he likes cubicles or what, but anyways. You know, he had friends and family. He had family, probably. He had, like, right-wing, probably, acquaintances. And then he probably had family members, some of whom were like, damn, man, I'm sorry that you've taken this turn. I was kind of proud of you for a while. So next up, we get into the research segment. And everything's running super well here now. I took a big break. I was fixing a bunch of tech stuff. I was changing encoder settings back. I was cleaning my fan on my laptop. I was like, I've done a few things, and now everything seems to be running quite well. Actually, it's really nice, because I'm not gonna lie, like I've talked about this before, like it's pretty frustrating for tech stuff to get in the way, and I was almost like, I'll just do audio episodes for a while, but I know you all like to see my beard and my shirt and stuff, so I would hate to deny you that. Great. So let's get on into the research segment. This is when I just highlight a couple of research articles of the day. I think it's cool to just kind of check in with research. And even though we don't go deep into stuff, it's nice to just even get a feel for like what research is, honestly. And like to kind of, we all know, but just to reacquaint yourself with the scientific method, while also maybe learning an interesting thing or two. So first up, are human super predators always super scary? A meta-analysis of wild animal behavioral responses to human interaction. So that's kind of interesting. You walk into the woods, a deer runs away, and you're like, sorry, was it something I said? And oftentimes it was. Yeah, oftentimes it was something you said, but deer do a lot of different stuff. So it's not only deer, it's all kinds of different animals. For example, like hedgehogs or alligators even. Alligators could kill us, but they don't always know that because they don't read the news. But yeah, anyways, so super predators, this is not like the Hillary Clinton or super predators thing. This is a different super predators thing, just so you know. we zoom in? Where's the zoom in option up here? No. Is there no zoom in option? I feel like there is. Reading flow. Okay. I know. Yeah, no, this is just not the options I'm looking for. Yeah. Maybe this? Cookie? No, I don't want to click that. So humans interact with wild animals through lethal and non-lethal activities. I prefer non-lethal. While theory predicts that these interactions should alter animal behavior, the relative magnitude of impact is not well understood. We conducted a systematic review and meta-analysis of the past 30 years of research, focusing on changes in foraging, vigilance, and movement behaviors in wild animals. We found that lethal human activities like hunting cause significant behavioral changes with targeted species increasing vigilance and reducing foraging in affected areas. Active non-lethal activities like tourism elicited similar but weaker patterns, with many species showing little to no change in their behavioral responses. In contrast, passive non-lethal interactions like roads produced highly variable responses. Overall, human-induced fear elicits responses in wild animals that broadly align with predictions from the risk allocation hypothesis. However, the magnitude and direction of animal responses depend on the type of human activity and the ecological context. The most pronounced behavioral changes occur where humans pose a direct lethal threat. Gaps in the literature, uneven information within and across species, and limited information in the history or context of interactions currently limit our ability to better predict when and why animals change their behavior. So, sort of helpful for knowing, like, is it me? Is it them? Like, why do things feel awkward with the beavers or with the fish or stuff like that? Why are they running away from me now? Well, you could ask, have I been killing them? Have I been building roads through their territory? You know, just kind of look inwards. Next up on the research segment, and last up on the research segment, we have beyond abiotic decay, fiddler crabs accelerate plastic fragmentation in pollution hotspots. Very recent article. Mangrove forests are recognized as plastic sequestration hotspots, particularly in urbanized areas which may contain up to 2 orders of magnitude more plastic litter. Fiddler crab populations known as ecosystem engineers are thriving precisely in these expanding plastic pollution hotspots, prompting inquiry into how these creatures navigate the substantial plastic loads within sediments they have evolved to inhabit and feed upon. To investigate this, we released 2 types of unaged, fluorescently labeled polyethylene microspheres, hereafter microspheres, about 20 to 27 micrometers in diameter. I believe that's like 1,000th of a meter. And red, right? Yeah. And red, okay, a little bit bigger. Into polluted urban mangrove inhabited by the fiddler crab. The microsphere sizes were chosen to mimic the natural range of food particle sizes encountered by these crabs. This field experiment tracked the uptake and fate of microspheres in the crab's hepatopancreas, gills, hindgut, and the sediments over 66.6 days. Microspheres were incorporated by most crabs, with uptake markedly higher in the hindgut and hepatopancreas than in the gills. So the crabs are taking in the microplastics. The average uptake of microplastics per crab was more than 16 times higher than the density in the sediment, and represents one of the highest uptakes ever recorded in nature. Approximately 15% of this load, primarily located in the hepatopancreas, was found in a fragmented state, suggesting degradation through digestive processes. So the fiddler crabs are actually digesting and fragmenting the microplastics. And that might sound good, but it's not. Microspheres fragmented by digestive processes were detectable in mangrove sediment within just 14 days, challenging the notion that plastic degradation is a long-term process driven mainly by abiotic aging over decades. So they're saying animals could actually be speeding up the fragmentation process of microplastics, which is bad because it means more microplastics, smaller, getting more places. And it doesn't just take thousands or whatever years for the microplastics to break down if they're digested and fragmented by a crab. Combined with the widespread presence of fiddler crabs along coastlines acting as plastic sinks, these findings suggest that biotic fragmentation is an important pathway for the degradation of plastics entering the ocean. So something to think about. We want these fiddler crabs to be our environmental engineers. Is that what they called them? Engineers, right? What do they call them? Engineers? Where is that? Where did it say that? I'm losing it. I'm losing it. Engineer. How do I spell engineer? Environment. Wait, I feel like it did say engineer, right? Yeah. Ecosystem engineers. So we want the fiddler crabs to be ecosystem engineers, not plastic sinks. Okay? Sort of a something to think about and good to know. Lots of stuff out there related to microplastics, and this is just one more piece of information to take into account and understand. This is like the worst. Like the tech stuff is really coming to a head. Like I just recorded for 17 minutes of that clip, and then I clicked to stop recording, and like a serious looking error message came up. And I was like, wow, that definitely didn't record anything of what I just said. And I don't know, like, am I really going to redo like the research segment and the like Scott Adams stuff? And then it just like worked. So it worked fine, even though the error message looked really, really legit. It's really annoying, y'all. I'm not joking. I know it's annoying for you to hear, but like, it's kind of how the sausage gets made here of the creative process. It sucks. This is why I just like painting, I don't get an error message. I really just do not like tech getting in the way. It's very frustrating and really breaks the flow. So be ready for potential changes. Maybe it won't be going to audio only. Maybe it'll be more creative, more interesting. Maybe I'll come up with something interesting. But holy crap, this is annoying, Tech guys coming in and out of the studio, Tech guys constantly bothering me. And I need the help, but I'm also kind of annoyed, I'm bothered by the tech guy's existence. So now we have the very good time for it, the meditation segment. Let's kind of try to meditate, try to zen out a little bit. This has been a little bit more stressful of an episode. Meditation segment's a good break before things heat up with the image and the audiovisual segment. So let's just kind of chill. If you've never meditated before, just kind of like, just try to like, you could try to like let your thoughts stop and try to just focus on your breath. Relax your muscles in your face and your body. And don't worry about deep breaths. Just do continuous breaths. They can be deep if you want them to be. I'm not saying you can't take deep breaths. Just gotta accept the tech issues, Gotta accept things sometimes and be grateful for what I have, It's nice to have this laptop. The meditation segment wouldn't be a bad one to have to redo if there were tech issues. The other ones, it's like, oh, I gotta like say stuff again. Are you kidding me? Like I've done it before, but I don't know if I could do it again. I don't know if I could like talk about the same thing I just talked about again. But meditation is like, yeah, I could do that again. I probably should do that again. We've been practicing our meditation skills a lot. Every episode, we've been really getting better at it and doing well. So join the channel if you want to get more meditation practice. Okay. Now we will get into the image segment, which is very exciting. This is when things really start getting spicy on the podcast. Let's see about what images we got today to look at. A lot of things, a lot of podcasts, they don't look at images in the same way that we do. So first up, and you're not going to be shocked that this is making the image segment. Big image of the week. Strike that last word. Strike that last word I said. Andrew, a guy named Andrew, former Prince. This is him when he was arrested, right after being arrested for potentially very, very serious crimes related to human trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. It's such a great photo because it looks like he thought he was scooting down. I don't know if he's like constrained in a way where he couldn't scoot down further, or if he just thought he was sufficiently scooted down. But he definitely looks like he's trying to scoot down. He doesn't look very relaxed, I'll tell you that. He doesn't look like he's meditated recently. And he looks like he's like, oh shit, I'm actually being held accountable. That's the face of a guy who is not used to being held accountable, like considering the possibility of being held accountable, which is good. It's good for him. It's good for everyone to have more accountability. So great photograph. I think Reuters took it and they published an article about how they got it. I didn't read it, but you could check that out if you're interested. Secondly, on the image segment and our second and last part of the image segment, Gerard Richter. I'm reading a book about him. I've been a fan. I've actually talked about him on the podcast before. We had an audiovisual segment where it was him with his 40 years younger wife. And I was shocked because I did not realize he was one of those guys who is in a relationship with someone dramatically younger than him. To be fair, he's like 85 or something, and she's like 4. I might have the ages slightly wrong, but he's like, she's like a fully grown adult, and he's just like an elderly man, and she's just like a middle-aged woman. So it is bizarre, and I think says something about him. Nonetheless, we're not separating the art from the artist, but I think you can also, because I don't think that's possible, but I think you can say that an artist can have certain limitations or certain limitations and still be someone that's worth considering. I find Gerard Richter very interesting. So they're showing an abstract painting behind, first here, but you'll see he actually is famous for being an extremely interesting abstract painter and a very interesting representative painter. And I love his paintings. You can see some abstract paintings on the wall. I've been recently getting into more representative paintings where you're painting a picture of something actually and not just a bunch of marks. And it's really interesting. And I like his approach to it. So I've been reading a biography about him and I've been enjoying it. And I find his work very inspiring and his philosophy kind of interesting. I'm not really sure I get it yet, but let's just look at some of the images. So that's him, just 15 years ago or something. He's German. He was born in the GDR in East Germany, and then he moved to West Germany at 17 or something. This is one of his early works. This is actually, he considered this his first work in his style or in his approach that he developed. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. You don't have to like it, but it's kind of interesting. A table that's obfuscated in this way. So let's check out the next one. This is incredible. Verkündigung nach Titian. Annunciation after Titian. This is 10 years later. I mean, that's just beautiful. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, abstract art, but as far as abstract art goes, this is beautiful colors. Beautiful colors and the brush strokes. It seems like he doesn't layer on the paint for something like this. It's maybe more scraped or almost just not that many layers, but it might be layered. But this is quite beautiful. Not gonna lie. Next up, Good Run. Whoa, that's cool. I mean, a little bit different. 10 years, 15 years later, actually. I hope they show some of his representative works. Oh, that's a self-portrait, yeah. So he would paint from photographs and often, very, very often, imitate the effects of photographs in the blur. So it's quite interesting the way he did it. Very interesting. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But oh yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing. But I do want to look at one more just to kind of show his style a little bit better. This is an amazing one I'm about to pull up. Yeah, who are your favorite painters? Comment below. Let me know who you like. I'd be very curious. He's really one of my favorite painters. He honestly might be my favorite painter at the moment. So let me just show you this one. And this must be a Duchamp homage, but I haven't seen that yet. I'm sure it is, but because Marcel Duchamp famously painted nude descending a staircase, and it was an extremely influential painting that showed in New York, and really transformed the New York art scene. This is let me show you nude descending a staircase. This is Duchamp's. Duchamp is actually my favorite painter, probably, but I'm sort of between Duchamp and Richter. This is great. So I don't know that it's a reference, but this is nude descending a staircase. It's a very famous painting, so I would doubt that Gerard Richter would paint a woman descending a staircase and not realize he's at least doing a reference to Duchamp, even though the style is so completely different. And Duchamp, didn't do this style forever. He switched to a sort of different style once he mastered this sort of cubist futurist approach. But yeah, this is just beautiful. I mean, this is a painting. This is a painting of a photograph. He made some changes to it, made the stairs wider, but it's just very interesting. I mean, and I think she was famous. Maybe she wasn't. Some of his subjects were famous, some were not. He sort of denied that he chose photographs for any particular reason until he later admitted it. He was like, no, they're random. I'm just randomly choosing photographs. It's like, no, you're not, dude. Stop lying to yourself or to us. You're not randomly choosing photographs. So anyways, yeah, pretty interesting. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that segment, and I hope I don't have to redo it. Okay, so let's move on into the audiovisual segment. This is often a popular one, but I've been trying to make it clear it's not all about the audiovisual segment. You know what I mean? So don't fall in love with the segment. It's just one of many. But we do have a nice 3-parter today, so let's get on into it. First up, we have surprise shark caught on camera for first time in Antarctica's near freezing deep. So let's check it out. Antarctica, last month, go. There it is. Do you see it? Do you see it? Wow. That is a surprised shark. Oh, is it a surprised shark or is it a surprise shark? Is the shark a surprise or is the shark surprised? Hey, look at that guy. That guy's like, what about me? I'm a little ray or something. And there's sea stars also. But how about the shark, right? Wow. That shark is like the alpha dog of the alpha male of the sea. I sort of identify with the shark, you know what I mean? Because I'm just I'm slow, but I'm brooding. And I kind of make that expression sometimes where I'm like, so that's just something about me. But hey, good for the shark. Get out there more. It's good. It's good self-care to just kind of take care of yourself. Get out there. Check out the fish that's taped to the thing. You know what I mean? Just kind of get out for some exercise. Next up on the audiovisual segment, I actually just had to re-find this clip because the one that I had saved to show you on Facebook, which is a website, was deleted. And this is Instagram, another website, totally different website, not related. But a Swiss commentator was commenting on the bobsled race of the Olympics. If you might not have heard, the Olympics is going on. And the Zionist ethnic state of Israel is participating in the Olympics. So the commentator used this opportunity to, let's just check it out. This is, them commentating on the Swiss broadcast of the Zionist ethnic state of Israel racing in the bobsled race. You're going to have to read the subtitles if you don't speak German. Actually, they might be speaking French. I forgot they speak French and German in Switzerland. So it's not just criticizing Israel. The actual person racing is a Zionist and supports the genocidal actions of. I think this is amazing. I really do. I really think on a public broadcast to come in, this guy must have been nervous, and he said, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to use the entire race. Fine, you want to race in the Olympics? Fine. I'm the commentator, and I'm going to choose to talk about what you've said about your country's violence. I think that's fantastic. The superimposition, like the one thing on top of the other, it's really powerful, honestly, to use your space and your time to commentate in this way by providing real content. Not random. This is not saying, oh, I hate him because he's Jewish. I hate him because he's Israeli. This is saying he specifically has gone out of his way to denigrate Palestinians and to support the genocide of Palestinians. I hate the phrase ethnic cleansing. I never use that. I think that's genocidal rhetoric. I would never use that. There's nothing clean about it. But clearly this guy deserves criticism. This racist racer. So yeah, this is a very good prepared statement. He's even citing how the Olympic Committee rules should be banning someone like this because he's actively supported the war. Just like if any U.S. Olympian had supported the murder of random people in the Caribbean or the Pacific, whether they're trafficking drugs or not, you're not allowed to just murder people. And our country, and let alone all the other ways our country murders people. I think if a U.S. Olympian went out there and said, I like that the United States is murdering people in the Pacific and the Caribbean, I think they should be banned from the Olympics also. Russian, participants supporting the war of aggression that Russia's doing. Like anyone. It's just a simple rule. It's really not that complicated. They wouldn't let a Ukrainian do a event with a helmet commemorating the dead Ukrainians that Russia has murdered. It's just crazy. Like, what are the... Great job to the commentator. It's important to give that context. And I wanted to preserve it on my podcast. I wanted to capture it on my podcast. It's one of the cool things about the audiovisual segment. Another thing I wanted to capture, last part of the audiovisual segment, Les Wexner, apparently an extremely close associate and funder of the late human trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. This man is about to face his due. He's like, oh crap, it's coming to a head. So he's really being put under the thumb. I believe none of the Republicans in the United States showed up for this deposition because they don't care. They're like, well, what, are we going to worry about every human trafficker? Can we just worry about the Democrats, please? Can we just worry about the Democrats that were involved? Can we not talk about everyone? Hold on. Did Republicans show up for House oversight Les Wexner? I don't think I made that up, right? It's a film deposition. Yeah, Democrats say no Republican oversight members attended. So, wow. Anyways, this is his lawyer giving him some helpful legal advice when he maybe spoke a little bit too much.
I think I'm giving a long answer, but to understand in context.
I know that everyone deserves a legal representative. Like, really, everyone does. And obviously, I'm a fan of Better Call Saul. You know, Lalo deserved legal representation. Les Wexner deserves legal representation. I think it's absolutely fundamental to a democracy to have people have legal representation. But that doesn't change the fact that, like, if I was a lawyer, I wouldn't want to do this. Like, you don't have to. You know what I mean? Like, you're allowed to, like, not work with people who funded child traffickers or human traffickers. Like, you're allowed to just not take the case. You know what I mean? So it absolutely says a lot about you as a person that you get yourself involved in this, and your friends and family are going to be very humiliated that you're participating in you, because you are literally defending Les Wexner. You are literally defending, not figuratively. You are literally defending him, and you're helping him try to face as little accountability as possible. So it's a kind of duality. Like, he deserves the representation. Everyone does. But if you're the one giving him that, it's not morally neutral. You're not doing something moral because someone else would do it. You know what I mean? He could have a public defender. Something tells me this guy's not a public defender. So yeah, I hope he finds it real funny. I bet he finds it real funny. That's not a nervous laugh at all. He finds it real funny. And his spouse, I'm sure, finds it real funny. Let's watch that one more time. And Les Wexner laughs. He's thinking, like, could you actually just please kill me? I feel like I'm going to face a lot of accountability. But let's hear that one more time louder. At first, I thought he maybe said they will kill you if you do it, like they're going to get you, which wouldn't be great either. But no, he definitely says, I will fucking kill you. So anyways, yeah, Les Wexner, I hope you face immense amounts of accountability. And I know that you do not have the ability probably to even understand how much harm you've done. But hopefully we're going to make you understand that. So great. That's the audiovisual segment. Very fun. Always a good vibe. All right, not too much more for the day, but we'd love to do a follow-up segment where I just address any potential issues from the previous episode. It's pretty important just for my own accountability. And so let's see what we got here. Was there anything I need to correct? Yes, there was. Okay. So first off, I was talking art, as I love to do. And let's see.
We were actually the most powerful force in the art world.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying how when the U.S. supported artists.
It was supporting artists financially. And what do you know? A couple decades later, we were actually the most powerful force in the art world. Some of those same artists, Lee Krasner, others.
I couldn't remember off the top of my head who else was supported on the WPA, the Works Progress Administration or whatever, that supported artists in like the 30s in the United States, in the 40s maybe. But Lee Krasner, Pollock's wife, very talented artist herself, and actually helped connect Jackson Pollock with a bunch of important figures in the New York art world. It wasn't just Lee Krasner. It was also, and I found a source, Jackson Pollock, Willem de Kooning, and Mark Rothko. These are just the most famous, so extremely profoundly influential artists who were really, really supported by the government, during the Depression. And that's very helpful. So maybe we should do it again. So next up, we got another follow-up. Let's just check this out really quick. Oh yeah, I was talking about this guy, this very powerful guy who is being potentially held accountable for his extremely close relationship with human trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. And here's what I said. I was talking about it, blah, blah, blah.
Did they mention that in the article? Why don't they mention it in the article? That's kind of strange. This was the guy who sent the torture video.
Yeah, so there's a in the Epstein files that have been released, which is only like half of the ones that our government is mandated by law to release, because currently the Republican administration is violating the law by not releasing more information. But in the files that were released, there's an email from Jeffrey Epstein to this man saying, "Thanks for the torture video," or "I loved the torture video."
All right. Well, I guess I'll see you at the follow-up segment next episode if I got that wrong. But I'm pretty sure this is the guy who allegedly sent a torture video to Jeffrey Epstein.
And I am seeing you now at the follow-up segment. It was the same guy. For some reason, Reuters just thought it was too classy to add that detail to the article. I guess they didn't feel like it was relevant. And lastly, on the follow-up segment...
The torture.
Lastly, on the follow-up segment...
That might... It's just like the flu. Like what conservatives were saying. Like, and, you know, some liberals like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's just like the flu. But, like, we get a flu vaccine every year, and people used to die from the flu. So, like...
People still do die from the flu. I just wanted to make that clear. Obviously, people still die from the flu. The flu is real. And viruses exist. I know it sucks. We're mortals. I know it really does suck. It's hard for me to face and understand, but I do actually think we're mortals. So yeah, something to keep in mind. Let's move on to the mailbag segment. So we get a lot of people writing in to verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. Okay, no one wrote in. Great. So moving on to the next segment. So often we do improv, but I'm going to kind of edge you on that. I shouldn't say that if I'm trying to not turn on my community. I think we'll do improv next time. This is not a bit where I keep saying, oh, I'll do improv next time. It's been an extra stressful episode with having to like do all this tech stuff, and it's going to be a little bit of editing to fix some of the stuff. So I'm going to not do improv, and I know people will be upset about that, but I can, you know, I'm not audience captured like some of these other podcasters. You know what I mean? I don't need, you know, your approval. I like it, but I don't need it. Okay, thank you to the members and the patrons. I'll first thank the members of the What's Therapy channel. Thank you so much for supporting my work. Some of that money goes to the podcast. Thank you, the Judo Joker, Riri, the Carbon Creed, Somewhat Entertainment, Jasmine, Simply Snaps, Gerbo, Hollow Moon, and Pit Inhabitant. And over on Patreon, patreon.com/whatstherapy. Thank you, Owl Knight, Andreas, Not Dirty Harry, Bean Machine, Grape Juice, Majid, PC, Janie, JCS, M, Ben's Life, Brandon, Felix, Marcy Bun, Stepan, Coolbean, Spaghetti Gal, Isabel, Milky, Ryan, Grace, Garrett, Simply Snaps, Parker, Dakota, Aiden, Noah, Burrow, Perpetually Jackson, A, Icelak, MK, Matt, X, Noah, Anastasios, King, Tom, Hugh, Redgar, Velamancy, Platinum Sarge, Rabbit Dog, Andrew, Ian, Russ, Irene, MJ, Ludwig, Ryan, Madeline, Brent, Molly, Ashley, Scott, Thulusaurus Rex, Miles, and User. Appreciate y'all. Okay, so that was an episode of the podcast. Next episode will be episode 150. That's kind of big. Should we do like a celebration or something? Well, tune in to the private to the private episodes by becoming a member or patron to find out if we do a celebration. That rhymed. Become a member or a patron to join the celebration. Okay, bye. This is a podcast.